Health and fitness requires more than just the physical work. It starts with the work you put in to grow your mind. Welcome to the Mind Gains podcast, where we discuss what it takes mentally to see results physically. I'm your host, Jess. Let's get started. Guys, I am so excited for this episode of the Mind Gains podcast. We are doing something a little bit different today, something that we have not done before, but has definitely been on my mind, been trying to work it out for a little while now, and we are finally sitting down and doing it today. And that is going to be having our very first guest ever on this podcast. And the honor goes to my wonderful husband. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey guys, my name is Massimo, and as Jess said, I'm her husband. First of all, just want to give a huge shout out to Jess for creating this amazing podcast. It has been so cool to see all the support that she has gotten on this. I also love all things health and fitness, and I'm so excited to be a part of this space.
Yes, as he said, he is just as much into health and fitness, all things health and fitness as I am. So it is really cool that, we both have just this strong passion, this strong interest in exercise and nutrition and lifestyle and just bettering yourself. And it's really cool to get to, just do life alongside someone who has the same values and the same interests as me. And then also we get to coach together, which is a lot of fun. So I'm really excited to have him here today. But as we were talking about what to talk about today for this episode, we couldn't just settle on one thing. So what we decided to do was ask ChatGPT what its most asked questions are in health and fitness, because as we all know, ChatGPT has really kind of like taken over our world today. Everyone goes to ChatGPT for everything. So we thought that might be kind of different, kind of fun, something fun to do today. So the answers that they gave us, that ChatGPT gave us, was broken down really into three main sections. So we have a fitness section, we have nutrition, and then just general health. And the way we're going to do this is just kind of go through each of these and try to answer them the best way that we possibly can and kind of put our own 2 cents in. And I don't really know how it's going to work. I don't know. We might do like quick rapid fire answers if we don't have too much to talk about, if it's just kind of like a quick, simple, straight, direct answer. But we might also kind of dive deep into things. So we'll just kind of see where the conversation takes us for each of these topics. So getting right into these, we'll start off with the fitness section. Question number one, it's top question. How do I build muscle or get stronger? Do you want to start with this one?
So the short answer is really just progressive overload, but throughout that, you really just want to make sure that you're constantly trying to gain intensity in the gym and challenge yourself in new ways.
And to kind of build off of that, I would say it's also going to include nutrition and rest and recovery as well, because a lot of times people look at the exercise component as like the end all be all for whatever their goals are, whether it's losing fat, building muscle. But in reality, there's other very large components that matter just as much, if not maybe even a little bit more. So when it comes to specifically building muscle, I would say at least making sure you are eating at your caloric maintenance, or even it would be better to be at a slight caloric surplus. So eating 200 to 300 calories above your maintenance, eating enough protein to make sure that you have the protein intake and the calories to back up the building of your muscle, and also recovering well, sleeping enough, because that's really where you're getting the repairing of your muscle mass that you have broken down in your workouts through that progressive overload.
The other side of that is also the mindset side of things. You have to understand that building muscle and getting stronger is a pretty slow process, so you can't expect to see changes day to day or even week to week. You really just have to trust the process and continue with it for a long time, and then you'll start to see those results.
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of times people back out way too quickly, especially when it comes to being in a building phase, especially as females. Let me just pause there real quick, because I don't think it's as big of an issue for males, because, it's not I don't know. I just don't think it's usually as big of an issue to put on a little bit of mass, whereas females, I think we struggle a little bit more, especially giving it enough time to for the work to work essentially and to have the payoff from the hard work, because really building muscle mass takes a long time. As much as losing fat takes a long time and it's a slow process, I would say that building muscle mass takes even longer because it takes a while to put on enough of it for it to be a significant difference, essentially. So, really maintaining that caloric maintenance or caloric surplus for anywhere from really, I would say bare minimum 6 months, but 6, 9, 12 months consistently to give your body enough time to put on sufficient muscle mass. That way, when you do decide to go into a cut later on down the line, and lower your overall body fat percentage, there is a noticeable difference in the muscle that you've gained prior to when you started building that muscle.
One last thing, especially for the ladies out there, you cannot be worrying about the scale during this phase. There's a good chance that it's going to be raising a little bit, but you can't be worried about that little influx in the scale and then completely back out of this because you're worried about the scale going up.
Oh, yeah, 100%. The thing with a building phase or a bulking phase or just putting on muscle mass, the scale has to go up. If the scale is not going up, you're not putting on muscle mass. That muscle that you want to build weighs something. So you can't constantly be worried about seeing a smaller number on the scale if that's not the phase that you're currently in. If you're in a calorie deficit and if your goal is fat loss, yes, the scale should be coming down over time. And to kind of as a side note, if you're going more for that body recomp and you are eating at maintenance, trying to lose fat and build muscle at the same time, the scale might stay consistent or right around the same number. But at the end of the day, again, if you want to put on significant muscle mass to where you look like a totally different person night and day between these two phases, the scale has to go up. It just has to. So please do not let that be the deciding factor of you not wanting to put on muscle mass because you don't want to see the scale go up. It's okay. It does not matter if the scale says 125 or 155. If you look the way that you want to look, what the heck does that number mean? All right, tangent over. Next question. How often should I work out each week?
That really kind of depends on you and your schedule. You can get a very good amount of muscle growth by doing 3 days a week. You can work out on a 4 day split. You could go 5 days a week. I personally don't like to exceed more than 5 days a week because, like we just said, rest and recovery are super, super important.
Yeah, anywhere between 3 to 5 days a week is always going to be my suggestion. I would not do less than 3 days a week unless that is literally all you can do. If all you physically can commit to is 1 day a week, like obviously it's better than nothing. I'm never going to say, well, if you can only work out 1 day a week, it's not worth it. Like just don't do anything. But really, really, 3 to 5 days a week. You also don't want to be doing more than that. I mean, unless you are someone who is really dedicated to your rest and recovery, like Ma said, just because I truly believe that for the average person, the general population does need at least 2 days a week of full rest before kind of jumping back into things for the next week. But it's really going to come down to your lifestyle, your schedule, what your commitments are, and what you're able to commit to and stay consistent with. That's the most important thing. If all you can do realistically commit to is 3 30-minute workouts a week, then do that. That is more than okay. You don't have to be in the gym 5 days a week for 90 minutes each day to be effective. Honestly, sometimes you're going to see better results with doing less. Sometimes less is more, genuinely. So it's more about just kind of like finding what works best for you in your current phase of life because it can also change depending on what season of life you're in. Next question. One of my personal favorites. I'm so excited about this one. How do I stay motivated to exercise consistently? And I'm going to start it. I'm
Mhm.
going to start with this
Yep.
one. The answer is you don't. Like, that's it. That's the answer. I hope it's what you were looking for because point blank, period, you don't stay motivated. Not a single person on planet Earth stays motivated to honestly to do anything, not even just exercise. It doesn't matter what it is. Not a single person. You can love what you do. You could be motivated some days to go to work because you genuinely love your job and you find purpose in your job, but there's going to be times and there's going to be days, even if you have the best job in the world, and I'll argue that I do, there's going to be days that you still don't want to do it. It doesn't matter. So it's not about the motivation. It's, what everyone likes to say, it's about discipline. And it's something that you build up over time. And it comes down to you not relying on what you feel like doing right here and right now, understanding that the end result and the payoff that you get from just showing up, regardless of how you feel or what you actually feel like doing that day, is so worth it. You have to care more about your end result. You have to care more about what position you're going to be in a week from today, or 6 months down the line, or a year from today, 10 years from today. You have to care more about what position you're going to be in at that point over what your position is right now. Because maybe right now you don't feel like getting up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym. Maybe right now you don't feel like cooking a whole food meal from home because you just want to go get pizza. And that's valid. That's valid because I definitely feel that way. But you have to, in those moments, say, hang on, let me think about what I care about more. What do I place value on more? Is it the pizza? And is it satisfying the things that I want right now? Or is it reaching the goals that I've set for myself and keeping my commitments and keeping my promises and reaching the end goal that I literally dream about day in and day out?
So obviously, I 100% agree with everything she just said there. One thing I will add, and a way to kind of try to tap into that motivation, is being able to celebrate the wins when you do have them. Because, like I said earlier, this is a very long process, and honestly, it can be a very discouraging process because you don't see daily changes. So, whenever you do see some kind of change, you have some kind of win, really celebrate that and remember that feeling of happiness and joy that you have. So that way, in the times when you're not motivated or you're not feeling like you want to go and do the thing that you have to do, remember how good it felt to have that win. And a lot of times that can kind of push you to kind of get back into what you want to be doing.
Yeah, you definitely have to take inventory, I think, of how certain things make you feel because I think it also goes in reverse. Like, I think about some of my most motivating times for when I don't feel like doing something is when I think back to times that I gave in to what I felt like doing in the moment and how disappointed I was in myself because I knew I could have done better. And I knew in that moment I was not holding myself to the standard that I know I'm capable of. And, also just if we're talking in relation to like food, that's what I usually think about. If I did eat the pizza, like how crappy did I feel after I ate the pizza? Like, do I feel like enduring that right now? Do I feel like going through that again? Or do I feel like making the hard decision, even though it is difficult, and being happy with the outcome? Because the truth is whatever is going to make you happy in the moment is probably the complete opposite of what's going to make you happy in a couple hours or tomorrow or next week or down the line. You know what I mean? Like if you are eating the pizza, I guess that's just the example we're going with, and you give into that, that makes you happy in the moment. But a couple hours later, you probably feel like crap and you're not going to be happy with that decision. Vice versa, you decide, I am not going to give in to whatever I'm feeling like doing right this second. And I'm going to make the hard decision. I am going to cook a meal from home. I'm not happy about doing that necessarily right this second, but I know that after it's done, I'm going to feel so much better mentally and physically, and I'll be so, so happy with the decision that I make. There's gonna be no regrets from that. So I think that's also some sort of form of motivation. And then also just really understanding that action comes before motivation. Like we can feel motivated at times to do things, but 9 times out of 10, the action has to be put into motion before you actually start to feel motivated. We oftentimes think that we're going to just have a spark of motivation and then that's what's going to like carry us through to complete everything that we know we need to get done. But it really does happen in reverse a lot of times. We start the thing that we know we need to get done, whatever it is, and once we get that ball rolling, now we actually start feeling motivated to see it through and to continue showing up. All right, now we're getting into the nutrition questions, which are some of my favorite ones. So, first one here, what should I eat to lose weight or gain muscle?
You're letting me go first? You
Yes, go
jumping?
ahead. Go
Wow.
ahead.
Okay.
I give you the platform.
Thank you very much. Whatever you want. And I say that in moderation. So you should be able to include all of the things that you enjoy eating in your macro goals or your calorie goals. Now, that does come with the stipulation of there does have to be a little bit of sacrifice. Just because you can eat whatever you want doesn't mean that you can always eat as much as you want, or doesn't mean that you should always eat everything you want. There has to be a little bit of sacrifice, but there's not one type of food that is going to make you hit your goals much faster. There's not one type of food that you absolutely have to avoid and that will completely stop you from hitting your goals. So it really just comes down to what your goals are, what you have set in place, what are your protocols, your daily nutrition goals, and working in things to make sure you hit those goals.
And I know I've spoken about this more in depth in some previous episodes, so I'll try not to get too carried away here, but the thing that people get really hung up on is, I mean, exactly this question, like, what do I eat to lose weight? There is no magic food. There's no, you eat chicken and rice and you will lose weight. It doesn't work that way. A lot of time, I can't tell you the amount of times that I have heard someone say something like, eat as much as you want as long as it's the right things. It doesn't really matter. Like, basically implying that as long as the food is quote unquote healthy, which again is a very, very subjective term, it depends on who you ask, you could eat as much as your little heart desires and you will lose weight or you will maintain your weight. And it's just simply not true. If anyone says that to you, if anyone implies that to you, they have no idea what they're talking about. I'll tell you right here, right now, they don't know what they're talking about. You could be eating healthy foods, again, quote unquote, healthy foods all day, every day. That does not mean you're going to lose weight. It doesn't mean you're going to maintain your weight. It doesn't mean you're going to gain weight. It comes down to you being in a calorie deficit if your goal is to lose weight. Now, I know this says, lose weight or gain muscle. So, losing weight, again, have to be in a calorie deficit. You have to be eating less calories than your body specifically, not some fitness influencer you see on Instagram, like what your specific body burns on a daily basis, which is determined by your activity level, your genetics, your body composition, like honestly so many things. So it's very highly individualized and it's something that you, or if you're working with a coach or someone, is going to have to find out what your maintenance calories are. Please do not use a tracker or anything like that to determine what your maintenance is, because those things are not accurate. Let me reel it in. You have to be eating in a calorie deficit. Now, again, the goal is to always primarily be eating whole foods. You want to go for something like an 80-20 balance, whole food based 80% of the time, 20% of the time, like what Moss was saying, include the foods that you love, include the things that you are craving, and the desserts and the sweets and the snacks and whatever it is that you want for that day. Like, you need to make sure you're eating the foods that you enjoy. And even outside of that, the whole foods you're eating, you don't want to be force feeding yourself things that you don't enjoy. If you cannot stand chicken, why are you trying to eat chicken for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day? It's just not going to work. It's not going to be sustainable. So, finding the foods that you love that are going to allow you to reach your targets in a sense of your calories, your protein, all of your macro targets, and maintaining that consistent calorie deficit over a sustained period of time is what is going to lead to fat loss. Now, with gaining muscle, like I already kind of mentioned, making sure that we're at least eating at our maintenance, if not a slight caloric surplus, to really optimize that muscle building and also including enough protein. Again, really going for anywhere from like 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight is a good rule of thumb to shoot for, but that's really it. It's made to be so overcomplicated and like this giant question mark around, well, if you don't do a juice cleanse, you're not going to lose weight. Like, it's not true. If you just eat in a consistent calorie deficit and you're eating good foods most of the time, including the foods that you love, you're going to lose weight. You're going to see the scale come down. It's not rocket science. It's plain science. Like, that's what it is. So that's really it here.
Not plain like the airplane, just so you're
Just,
clear.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
just like
plain,
plain
simple
science.
science.
Right.
That's it. All right, how many calories should I eat per day?
Zero.
I feel like
None.
we just kind of went over this, but essentially it depends on you.
Hmm.
Kind of getting back into maintenance calories. Everyone is so entirely different with this. Your maintenance calories might be, I don't know, 1,300 a day, or your maintenance calories could be 2,700 a day. So it so depends, and the reason I bring up, people looking at someone on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or whatever, seeing that their maintenance is 2,000 calories a day, so they're eating at, 16 or 1,700 calories a day to lose fat. That does not mean that if you eat 16 or 1,700 calories a day that you are going to lose fat, because if your maintenance is 1,300 right now, let's just say, and you say, all right, bet I'm going to eat 1,700 calories to lose weight. I hate to tell you, but if your maintenance is 1,300, you're eating in a decent calorie surplus, and now you're going to be putting on weight. And then you're going to see the scale go up and be like, what the heck? This doesn't work because I'm eating 1,700 calories. I'm eating in a calorie deficit. I'm eating what this person is eating, and they're seeing results, and I'm not. It does not work that way. It does not work that way. It is so highly individualized. So please do not look at what everyone else is doing and think that you need to be doing that, because this journey is very, very specific to you.
Now, if you want to find out really how many calories you should be eating, it's not the most attractive answer, but it's trial and error. For a little while, you need to just track your calories. Don't change what you're eating, don't do anything different, but just track your calories and get an overall average of what you're eating day in and day out. That'll at least give you a good starting point to be able to set your calorie goal at that average and then see how your body responds from there.
It's so funny to me, like the amount of times I've had a conversation with people and, they're asking for help with setting their macros, which I am always happy to do. I always, always, always want to help. But their question is always, what do I set my macros at? Right? Obviously. But like right off the bat, like day one, they're like, I want to start tracking. What do I set my macros at? I'm like, girlfriend, I don't know. I don't know what you've been eating. I don't know what your body needs. And I have literally had people ask me, like, what are my maintenance calories? Like, I can't just look at you, do like a x-ray body scan and say, yep, 2,600 calories, that's how much you need, or 1,500 calories, that's more of a likely number if you're a female. I can't do that. No one can just look at you and know what your maintenance calories are. Like Ma said, it's going to come down to some trial and error. And when I was starting this, I've never worked with a coach. Everything that I did was completely by myself, trial and error, researching, like just trying to figure this out. And I remember when I first started tracking, I signed up on this tracking app. It was my Fitness Pal, and I put in all my information, and it told me that my maintenance calories was 1,200 calories a day. 1,200. When I started tracking, I was actually eating 2,000 calories a day. I was averaging around 2,000 calories a day, and my Fitness Pal tried to tell me that my maintenance is 1,200 calories a day. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So if that doesn't just go to show what the difference is between what the app is going to try to tell you and where you currently are. Now, the way that I found that number again was just by simply taking a week, not changing anything in my diet, and just tracking what I was already eating. And I averaged again 2,000 calories, and it was consistent with what the scale was saying because my weight wasn't fluctuating during this time. It wasn't going up, it wasn't going down outside of, normal daily, weekly fluctuations. It was staying pretty consistent, which if you're eating at maintenance, that's what's going to happen because you're maintaining. You're maintaining where you currently are, so you're not going to be seeing these crazy fluctuations in either direction on the scale. So I was averaging, my maintenance was actually 2,000 calories and the app tried to tell me it was 1,200. So please do not go based off of those. It's really going to come down to, again, a little bit of trial and error, at least doing 3, 4 days at the bare minimum of just tracking what you were already eating. Again, I recommend more like a week, but then taking that number and saying, all right, if I was maintaining at 2,000 calories, let me drop down now to 1,800 calories for a slight calorie deficit if I want to lose some body fat. This was exactly what I did. And guess what? That's when the results started coming. So it's really highly individualized. It's really just going to come down to patience and trying out some different things to see where your body is currently at. On to the next question. Is intermittent fasting effective?
Mm. So it can be. Now, not for the reasons that you're thinking. Intermittent fasting is not going to be effective if you're still eating in a calorie surplus. At the end of the day, you need to be in a calorie deficit if you want to be losing weight. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, where intermittent fasting can be effective is it shortens the window of time that you're going to be eating. So, a lot of people do 16 hours of fasting and then 8 hours of eating, or 20 hours of fasting, 4 hours of eating. And essentially, what that does is gives them less time to eat throughout the day. So, usually, when people do that, they end up eating less calories as a whole for the day because they have less time to eat food. Now, that doesn't mean that it's the intermittent fasting that's working. It just means that now they're in a caloric deficit and they are starting to lose weight.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like all these questions really tie into each other. And if you haven't seen the common theme here, it's you have to be in a calorie deficit to lose fat. That's the one and only way it's happening. So, is intermittent fasting effective? Yes, but it's not because of the intermittent fasting. It's if you're in a calorie deficit. And again, just to kind of echo Moss, like a lot of times intermittent fasting does cause you to be in a calorie deficit because you only have a short period of time, a shorter, window that you can consume calories in. So it just naturally happens a lot of times that people are at that point eating less because they can only eat for 4, 6, 8 hours, whatever it is, and then they're not eating the rest of the time. But it's not like eating between, a certain time of day and eating in this 8 hour time span and then fasting for the next 16 hours is what causes the fat loss. It's you're eating less calories than your body is burning each day. So now you're in a calorie deficit. So now you're losing fat. So it can be effective. I'm not like knocking it. I think there's some people that would really find it helpful and useful just depending on whatever their schedule is or their lifestyle. It might work better for them than trying to do other things, but it's unnecessary. I remember when I was trying to lose some weight and I was going to the gym, but I was not changing my diet and I just kind of thought like, working out 5 days a week is going to give me the results that I want. I'm going to drop 30 pounds by doing that. And 9 months went by for me to be really disappointed in my results that I had only lost about 3 pounds in those 9 months. I lost 3 pounds in 9 months, and it's because the only thing I changed was my exercise. I went from not exercising at all to exercising 5 days a week, and that was the only result that I got. So then my next thought process was, all right, so I do need to do something about my diet. I've seen people say that intermittent fasting worked for them, that they were losing weight from doing that. They just started exercising and fasting, and then they dropped like 20 pounds. So that's what I should try to do. And I tried to do it for like 2 weeks, and it was the worst thing I think I have like ever experienced. It just was not for me I didn't get any results from it. Now, to be fair, I only gave it 2 weeks, so it wasn't like I was doing it for an extended period of time. But I just found it really awful, to be honest with you, because I was so hungry during those 16 hours. And then I would have a really big meal once my like feeding time opened, my feeding window. And then I like couldn't eat for the next 8 hours because I ate such a giant meal in one sitting. And then I would have to fast for the next 16 hours. And so it just did not work that well for me. I enjoy more consistency in my meals and my meal timing and everything. But again, it can work for some people. It can be a sustainable way to work for some people. But again, it's unnecessary. If you don't want to fast, you don't have to. That's the fasting is not what's causing you to drop pounds. It's being in a calorie deficit. All right, we are now on to general health at this point. So the first question here is, how do I improve sleep quality? All right. I will take over on this one. I feel like it's honestly pretty simple. I don't think it's anything too crazy. I will say, in my experience, I never had any issues with sleep quantity. I have always been a very big sleeper, like a 7 to 8, 9, sometimes even 10 hours a night. Like
Yeah, that's a lot.
I love to sleep. I could sleep for a really long time, but I was finding that I would still wake up pretty groggy in the morning, regardless of how much I slept that the previous night. I would still wake up pretty tired and just sluggish, and that would kind of continue on throughout the day. And I was so confused for the longest time because I was like, I got like 9 hours of sleep last night. Like, Moss is over here running off of like 5 hours and he's totally fine. Why? I got like double the amount. Why am I struggling so much? And it really comes down to not just your sleep quantity, but how well you're sleeping as well. So, the ways that I've personally found that have improved my sleep quality are really a couple things. I mean, I guess it's really just like one main thing that it boils down to, and then everything else falls under this. So it's going to come down to your wind down routine and your consistency with this and with your sleep schedule. Because I used to kind of be all over the place with my timing of my sleep. I'd be going to bed at like 10 o'clock one night and then 2 p.m. the next night. And then sometimes I'm waking up at 8 a.m. Sometimes it'd be like 10 or 11 in the morning. So it really was kind of just all over the place, not understanding that our bodies really love and thrive off of consistency. So, number one, maintaining a really consistent sleep schedule, trying to go to bed around the same night each night and wake up at around the same time each morning. Obviously, there's going to be variations in this just depending on what you have going on. If it's a weekday or a weekend, that obviously does look a little bit different. But really trying to be within an hour of each of these time frames is going to be really helpful for maintaining sleep consistency and making sure that our sleep quality is where it needs to be. And also your wind down routine. What does it look like the 30 to 60 minutes prior to bed each night? Are you running around right up until the moment that you need to lay down in bed? Because if so, your cortisol levels are probably going to be pretty spiked and it's going to be hard for your mind and your body to like shut down at that point. You're like asking it to do something that's pretty much impossible. It needs to have that in between time to wind down and start coming down from that sympathetic nervous system state, that fight or flight response, into that more of a rested response so that it's ready and willing to shut off for the night and get to sleep. So again, 30 to 60 minutes before bed each night, trying to do things that are going to help you do that, trying to stay off of screens. If you do have to be on a screen, trying like blue light glasses. I know that those typically help me if I am looking at any sort of screen, TV, computer, phone, whatever it is, right before bed, but really try not to be, especially if you're someone who is on the phone doom scrolling. Like, please do not do that right before bed. Just get off of your phone, turn off the notifications, put it on sleep mode. That's literally what I do like an hour before I'm going to bed. And maybe this would be a good time to try to read a little bit more. Get into bed and just read or do some stretching. That's usually when I do my stretching. Take magnesium, which I have found super helpful. That's like number one. I
Yep.
notice a huge difference in the nights and the times that I am taking magnesium and when I'm not. And it's not even a placebo, to be honest with you. For a while, I was like, is it? Is it? Or like, is it in my head? But I actually stopped taking magnesium kind of on accident. Like, I just stopped taking it for a good like 2 to 3 weeks. And I realized after the fact, after a while, I was like, I have been having such crappy sleep. Like, I'm waking up feeling so tired, so groggy. It is like 10 times harder for me to pull myself up out of bed when my alarm's going off at 5 a.m. than it used to be. Like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, it clicked with me. It's like, I have not been taking my magnesium. The second I started taking it again, night and day difference, honestly. So, finding a really great magnesium supplement, I always recommend First Form. That's what I personally take just to make sure that, you are getting what the label says is in the product. But taking magnesium, staying off of screens, setting up a consistent wind down routine, stretching, just making sure that that's the time that you're reading or journaling or doing whatever it is, it's going to help you come down from the day and get ready for sleep.
So honestly, I think you hit the nail on the head with that. Everything you said, obviously, I fully agree with. I'll go a little bit more vague with my answer and talk about what are your activity levels? Are you moving around at all throughout the day? Because if you're sitting down, having a very sedentary lifestyle, you're not really doing anything throughout the day, your body has pent up energy. Your body does crave movement. So when you strip your body of that, it's going to be a lot harder to kind of get to bed. I mean, I know growing up, I'll use this example. When I was a kid, we would go to the beach and spend all day running around in the water and stuff. You get home and you're exhausted. You fall asleep and you sleep like a baby at that time. So really look at like what your activity levels are as well. Now that doesn't mean go do endless bouts of cardio just to make yourself sleep better. By any means, please don't do that. But if you live a very sedentary lifestyle, getting more active, hitting a step goal, just moving around a lot more can attribute to that. And then the other thing, which again gets tied into almost everything we talk about, is your nutrition. Your nutrition plays a big factor in is plays the factor in every process that your body runs. So if you're not properly fueling yourself, your body's not going to be able to run the processes it needs and will just be completely out of whack. So your nutrition plays a big role in this as well.
That's a really good point. I also just thought about the role that caffeine plays as well.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, whenever I see someone, if I'm working with a client or they bring up their sleep quality, one of the first things I'll ask about is their caffeine intake. So, not only how much caffeine they're drinking throughout the day, but also the timing of it as well is really, really important. And I think a lot of people do not understand that. So I always recommend to have no more than like 400 milligrams of caffeine a day. Even that is kind of like verging into high territory, but that's
Mm-hmm.
like absolute max, no more than 400 milligrams. But obviously, if you're seeing negative side effects, if you personally are seeing the repercussions of even 400 milligrams, like you have to take that into account and say, maybe this is not the move, and I need to calm down a little bit on my caffeine intake, but also the timing of it. Caffeine does have about a 10-hour lifespan in our system. So if you are drinking caffeine, any caffeine, doesn't matter where it's coming from, if you're drinking caffeine within 10 hours of going to sleep, your body's going to recognize that. There's going to be negative side effects of that, and it's going to come down to your sleep quality. And I did not know this, I did not realize this for the longest time because I am someone who caffeine does not affect outside of that. Like, I don't drink coffee or drink soda or anything with caffeine and like feel energized. I don't feel shaky. I don't feel anything. I used to drink soda or some other form of caffeine right before bed and I can quickly go to sleep. Like, it does not affect me. It's totally fine. But I did not realize it actually does affect me. It does affect your sleep quality. Even if you're able to fall asleep easily, it is disrupting the normal processes that your body's trying to undergo when you're sleeping, so you don't get as good quality sleep. So, really trying to ensure that you are done completely with any and all caffeine within 10 hours of going to sleep is going to be really helpful as well. This was also something that I did a little experiment with as well unintentionally. I had no idea I was doing this experiment, but I, for a little while, was drinking coffee at like 2 in the afternoon, 2 or 3 o'clock sometimes. And that was also another period of time that I would wake up the next morning and be really groggy and really tired. And I just really struggled with feeling like got good quality sleep the night before. And it finally clicked with me one day. Oh my gosh, I have been drinking coffee in the afternoon, like, duh, I'm going to feel more tired the next day. And the second I stopped doing it, I started feeling better in the mornings. So even if you are someone who does not think that caffeine affects you, go ahead and try this out. Like, give it a couple weeks, 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever. Give this little experiment, see how your sleep quality is, because in my experience, it made all the difference in the world. And the last thing I want to touch on is meal timing as well, because that
Yep.
also does disrupt your sleep the same way caffeine does, essentially. So if you're eating within 90 minutes prior to bed, really, especially if it's a bigger meal, your body is trying to digest that meal now as you're sleeping, which means that it can't fully shut down because it has to process and digest the food. So now you're not fully, again, your body's not fully shut down, so you can't fully rest. Your sleep quality is going to take a really major hit if you are doing this. So consistent sleep schedule, consistent wind down routine. Give it some time to start working. Don't just do it for like 2 nights and be like, well, this doesn't work for me. You have to give it some time. You have to be consistent with it. No caffeine prior to, within 10 hours of sleep, and watching how much you're drinking each day, and being done with your meals, any sort of food within 90 minutes prior to sleep. Okay, so we have 2 questions left. This next one, how can I boost my metabolism? So I'll start with this one. It's really going to come down to a reverse diet, because I actually don't like the way that this is framed. It's not boosting your metabolism. It's just, I don't know. I don't know why that verbiage. I'm just like, it's not, you're not boosting it. You're just fixing your metabolic health. You're fixing your internal health. So
Exactly.
your metabolism is never broken. It's just, if you have a slower metabolism, it's downregulated. So if your metabolism was downregulated, it can also be upregulated. Our metabolisms are very, very malleable. And a lot of times people think that they have run their metabolism into the ground, which is true for most people, I will say that. But they think that there's no way out of that. They think that they've run it into the ground and now their metabolism is just broken. No, you have downregulated it, but you can also upregulate it. So, the way that we're going to do this is through a reverse diet, which essentially means that you are just slowly but surely increasing your intake over a period of time. And no, it's not always fun. This is a very slow process a lot of the times, especially if you're someone who has been severely under eating or coming out of like a chronic dieting phase. And people don't love it because this isn't usually where you see those physical changes, but it's more about what's happening internally during this time. It's more about making sure that your internal health is where it needs to be so that you can see more of those physical results down the line. So, again, it's going to come down to adding in anywhere from like 50 to maybe 150 calories, just depending on the person, every like 1 to 3 weeks, I would say, just highly dependent on what is your adherence to your nutritional targets during that time look like. Are you really, really on it, or are you not on it at all? Because if you're not on it at all, then you don't need to be making any changes because you're not doing it. Like, you're not doing anything. But if you are on top of your targets, you're meeting them day in and day out, and the scale is staying consistent, you're good to increase then after a week, even. You're good to increase. And so over time, you are slowly giving your body more fuel, essentially, more of a higher intake so that it can start to function better and function properly again, and your hormones are signaling properly again. And I know I just went over this in last week's episode, so I'll try to just kind of like leave it there, not go too far into it. But essentially, how can I boost my metabolism? A reverse diet.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of people really just look at their metabolism. They're like, oh, well, I just have a slow metabolism and I can't do anything about it. And I don't know if this is going to resonate with anyone because it's kind of a weird analogy, but think about a knife. You get a knife and your knife is sharp, But as you continue to cut and cut and cut, in this case, it would be reducing your calories and reducing your calories, whether that's intentional or not, the knife is going to start to dull. Now, when you have a dull knife, you don't just throw it out in the garbage. It doesn't just stay dull. You have to sharpen it. And that is what that reverse dieting process looks like. You're slowly sharpening that knife consistently to get it back to a point where it's sharp again. And then from there, you'll be able to see that your metabolism is working much better. That knife is working much better. It's not that it's just done and in the garbage. You have to work on it and it will slowly get better with time.
I love analogies. I love that you just did an analogy on my show.
Helps when I'm married to you.
Okay, so the last question. I feel like it's pretty straightforward. Honestly, we could like leave it at one word, but we're not going to do that. But the question is, are supplements necessary? And if so, which ones?
So, are supplements necessary? No. Now, I say that with a little bit of a caveat because if you're not getting the nutrients that you need to be getting from your food, then they can be necessary and supplements can be great. But ideally, we want to make sure that we're getting all of our micro and macronutrients from our food. That is the ultimate goal. So, now what supplements could be helpful? Well, that depends what you're not getting from your food. Honestly, I think one of the most asked questions I get is what supplements should I be taking? And there's not one supplement that you should be taking. It really is just like this entire process is very individualized, but you don't have to be taking supplements in order to see results.
Yeah, this one really resonates with me because I cannot tell you the amount of times I've gotten asked about fat
Mm.
burners. I know that both of us have gotten asked. Anyone who is involved in the health and fitness industry is asked about fat burners, right? Because that's what everyone goes to. It's like the band-aid that everyone thinks they need in their lives when you do not need it. You don't need it.
Can I jump in there? They also don't work as they say they do.
No.
Taking a fat burner is not going to make you lose fat. Half the time, it just raises your heart rate, so it's you're trying to increase the amount of calories that you're expending, but that doesn't work. That's not how it works. Sorry, I just needed to say that.
Yeah, I think it's really just everyone wants a quick fix, honestly. And what it really comes down to, I hate to be that person, but it comes down to you just not wanting to put in the hard work. You just want to take a pill and then see the fat shit off, and that's it. Or you want to take a pill and put in bare minimum effort and see phenomenal results. It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. And this isn't to like knock on anyone who's asked about fat burners because I think it's also just a legitimate question if you are getting involved in this. I mean, it's not anyone's fault. These things are pushed so heavily as like we need them. You don't need them. You absolutely do not need them. They're pushed because people want to make a profit off of them, right? It's a product that people are trying to sell, but they're preying on the fact that people don't want to put in hard work. So they're presenting it as like this band-aid that you take this, you take Ozempic. Oh, guess what? It'll just decrease your appetite. And now you're going to shed some fat. And it's not the right way. It's a band-aid. It's a band-aid. And so no supplements are not necessary. This goes beyond just fat burners. Supplements in general, you do not need to be taking a single supplement if you don't want to. It's unnecessary. Again, there can be some that can be helpful. I just spoke about magnesium. I found that one very, very helpful. It is not necessary. It's not required to be healthy or to have, see results that you want. Fat burners are not required. Creatine is not required. You can build sufficient muscle mass without taking creatine. It might help. It might maybe speed the process up a tiny bit. It might be helpful for overall health, just depending on what the supplement is, but it's not necessary. You don't have to be spending your money on pills and powders. The truth is that if you just did everything that you know you need to, as far as exercise, moving your body, making sure you're paying attention to your diet, and when I say diet, I don't mean like dieting, like chronic dieting. I mean, just your diet, the way that you're eating. You pay attention to the things that you're eating. You eat a variety of things. You include fruits and vegetables and different types of proteins and carbs and fats and everything. You just eat a balanced diet. You pay attention to your stress levels. You pay attention to your sleep. If you just do those things, you're going to be all set, and you're if you do them correctly, you're going to see the results you want. You do not have to be taking supplements. So I think people in and honestly our world has just really overcomplicated every aspect of this and has told people that they need to be doing these certain things, and you just don't. Everything that you need honestly is free. Like, exercise is free. Now maybe you have to pay for a gym membership, but you know what I mean. Exercise is free. Nutrition is free essentially, other than buying food, but it's you don't have to be buying these extra things. You don't need to be buying waist trainers. You don't need to be buying supplements to see the results that you want.
I can't say how many people on social media I've seen showing these crazy transformations, and then I just see like a little affiliate link, and I'm like, oh gosh, what is this about to turn into? And it's, oh, the only thing I changed was I took this greens powder. Oh, I took this colostrum. I took this collagen. I took this cortisol healing mix elixir thing. It half the time, if someone is telling you that they got a result from one thing, it's probably not true, especially if it's a product that they're trying to sell, because there is not one product out there that is going to get you all the results you want.
Yep, there is zero magic pills. There are zero shortcuts, honestly, because even if you take all the supplements in the world and you're not doing what you need to do, you're not going to be happy with your results. You're not going to get the results that you want.
Exactly.
Point blank, period. You can't just avoid hard work and expect to have phenomenal results. And I know this is like leading into something entirely different now, but my goodness, this is something that settles on me heavy, let me tell you. It really does. I am just so tired of our society in general, and I'm not speaking to anyone specific here, unless you know what, unless you feel so inclined to feel called out, that's totally fine. Sometimes we all need a kick in the butt. I need a kick in the butt. I'm talking to myself sometimes too. But regardless, I'm talking about the average person, just general population. Our society does not want to work hard. Like I said, most of us want to put in bare minimum effort. We don't want to track our food. We don't want to eat enough protein. We don't want to prioritize our sleep. We don't want to go to the gym or get our movement in or drink our water. We don't want to do these things, but we want to lose 50 pounds and put on 10 pounds of muscle. It doesn't work that way. If you're not willing to put in the hard work, don't even bother, honestly. I know that's a little bit of a hard truth, but it's true. I mean, honestly, if you're someone who has been taking the easy way out and you've been taking shortcuts and you've been just going through the motions, like, are you happy with your results? Because I can pretty much guarantee you, you're probably not. You're probably not. Hard work, it doesn't lie. You are going to have there's a direct correlation between the work that you put in and the result and the outcome that you get. And a lot of people don't like to acknowledge that, especially when it comes to health and fitness. I think in every area, but especially here, everyone, most people, I'll say most people, put in, like I said, the bare minimum, I'm saying, and then they turn around and complain that they're not further along or that they don't look the way that they expected to look. And usually the words that come out of their mouth is that this doesn't work or it doesn't work for them. That is not true. There is not a person on earth outside of, extenuating circumstances, but we're not talking about them. We're talking about the average person. There's not a person on earth that falls in that category that a consistent calorie deficit maintained over time, that consistent exercise and paying attention to your diet is not going to lead to fat loss. It's just not. There's not a person on earth that's going to maintain a consistent slight caloric surplus, eating enough protein, doing everything right in the gym, doing everything right in terms of their recovery, who is not going to be putting on muscle mass. It's not the results, it's not the process, it's you and it's your work ethic and it's the work that you're putting in. And a little bit of a hard truth, if you are unhappy with the position that you're in, you're unhappy with the results that you've seen, you need to take a hard look at how intentional you are with the things that you're doing every day, with the actions that you're doing, with the way that you're showing up. Because a lot of times people are just going through the motions. They're going through the motions at the gym. They're going through the motions in their nutrition in every single aspect, but the quality repetitions is where you're going to get the results from. That's where the desired outcome lies. So if you're avoiding the hard work and you're looking to quick fixes and you're looking to supplements to just magically give you the results that you're after without putting in the literal blood, sweat, and tears, you're going to be left really disappointed. But don't turn around and then blame it on the process or blame it on the coach or blame it on anybody else but you, because the responsibility lies solely with you and your actions and the way that you're showing up every day.
Thanks, guys. Now you got her all riled up.
So I know that was a very long tangent, and I don't know, someone just asked about supplements, but that's the answer that you're getting. That's the answer that should be on ChatGPT. So that's it. Thank you for coming along that ride with me. But anyways, it's all said in love. It's frustration,
Frustration out of passion.
it's frustration out of deep passion that I just want people to understand, because you know what? This was me.
Hmm.
Like, and that's why I think I don't have a problem talking about it, is because this was literally me. I tried to do the bare minimum and it doesn't work. I firsthand saw that it doesn't work. And the hardest part about it is that a lot of times we don't even realize that we're like feeding into our own bull crap and our own excuses, and we are doing the bare minimum. Because I didn't think that was me when it was me. I thought I'm working out 5 days a week. I'm doing what I need to in the gym. Like, maybe I'm taking it a little bit slower, but I definitely expected in that first, 9 to 10 months to lose more than 3 pounds. And then when I realized that that was the only progress I had made in that long of a time period, I looked to other things. I looked to intermittent fasting because I thought that'll be the magic solution, right? Like, I was really trying to avoid putting in the hard work because at the time, I'm going to tell you right now, I knew that tracking was the answer. And I was just like, that is way too much. That is way too hard. I'm not doing that. And I avoided it. I avoided the hard work, not realizing that it was me. Like, it was me that was stopping myself from reaching the goals that I was after. So we have to have a lot of self-awareness to realize when we are giving less than we know we have. We have to recognize when we know we are not holding ourselves to the standard that we should be holding ourselves, and then do something about it, because most people will not. Most people will not have that level of self-awareness to say, oh, it's not the process, it's me. And it's the intentionality of with which I'm showing up, because it really does make all the difference in the world. If you are going to the gym every single day, you're in there for an hour, but you are going through the motions and you're picking up the lightest weights and you're just kind of like barely breaking a sweat, like, you are not going to see the results that you want. But if you would stop that bull crap, you would go 3 days a week and you would put in intentional effort and hard work, you're going to see a lot more results from that than just going through the motions. So, the level of intention with which you are doing every single thing in this area matters a ton. It's not about band-aids. It's not about quick fixes. It's not about taking shortcuts. It's about showing up every day and holding yourself to that high level, that high expectation that you know you're capable of, because you know that you deserve to get those results and you deserve to take care of yourself and take back your health and lose that weight and build that muscle and feel confident in yourself. So, that's all of my thoughts after that little rant.
It's time to go make dinner.
Yeah, honestly, I'm really hungry. I'm starving. So definitely time to go make dinner. But this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Definitely a very different style from what I'm used to. And yeah, it was just really fun because I actually got to have a conversation and it's not just me sitting on this side of the mic talking to everyone listening. So, thank you so much for indulging us. Hopefully, we'll be doing more of this soon, but we'll get back to our regularly scheduled program next week.
Thank you so much for having me, and it was a blast. I loved it.
Yep, me too. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please, please, please let me know. Share it with someone who could find it beneficial or useful. Add it to your Instagram stories. Tag me in it. Let me know your thoughts. I always, always, always am open for a discussion or feedback or anything that you guys might find useful. But as always, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day today. I hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll talk next time.